Selamat pagi, good morning, everyone. We'll start at around 9:05. So give it a few more minutes for people to come in. Hi, good morning. Selamat pagi, good evening in a very truly global setting. The Southeast Asia Air Quality Community of Practice, people from around the world, from the regions are here. So I'm going to start today's session. I'll be your host. My name is Paulista Surjadi. I'm the Communications Coordinator for WRI Indonesia. Welcome to the third sessions of Southeast Asia Air Quality Community of Practice, titled Breaking Boundaries, Regional Collaboration to Tackle Transboundary Haze. This is the third session ever since we started this initiative at the end of last year. I'll be walking you through some of the uh, agenda and housekeeping rules. So we are here 9 around 9 to 9:10. I'll be sharing some of the housekeeping rules, welcoming you, and then there will be introductions by Beatrice Cardenas, and then there will be another introduction and a deep dive into UNIA resolutions on tackling transboundary pollution by the Department of State, and then presentations by our distinguished speakers today, and some question and answers that will be moderated by WRI Indonesia Senior Air Quality Lead today. Some guidelines, please be aware that this webinar will be recorded for documentation purposes. You are encouraged to use the chat box for more interactive discussions and networking during the sessions. To ask questions, we would like to ask you to kindly use the Q&A feature, as this will allow us to address the inquiry effectively during the dedicated Q&A segments. We, of course, invite you to sit back and be engaged in this insightful content. And should you require any technical assistance, you can contact my colleague, actually, Kalisha, who is Air Quality Lead and is in attendance in today's webinar sessions. And most importantly, although the conduct of this webinar is in English mostly, but there's an interpretation ready. You just have to follow the the things that have been put on chat as well. There's a globe icon over there in your bar right there below. Two options in Bahasa Indonesia and English. So Moving on to next would be an introduction to today's sessions by Beatriz Cardenas, who is the Air Quality Director of WRI. Beatriz is the Air Quality Director at WRI in Mexico. Also co-leads the global air quality team at WRI as a whole. She possesses expertise in air pollution management with a background encompassing scientific research and policy development. Her experience ranges from studying biological processes to treat air pollutants to designing and implementing comprehensive policies at achieving clean air. Without further ado, I would pass the stage and as well and the screen as well, Beatrice, so that you can give introduction to today's session. I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much. Good morning, good evening, everyone. We are so happy to have you in this session of the Southeast Asia Community of Practice. As Paulista mentioned, today we have a very interesting topic, transboundary air pollution. And what we want a very important message is we want to break boundaries. Everything about transboundary air pollution is recognizing that air pollution doesn't have any boundaries. We don't have borders. We have one atmosphere, and we have to recognize that every emission and every activity that we have has some impact of our emissions and therefore our air quality. So today we will hear from three speakers as well as from the Department of State. What is the most important issue? What are the new relevant and new insight from the science perspective as well as from the policy and diplomacy about transboundary air pollution? We have a lot of stories about air pollution and how recognizing that air pollution is not a local issue, but it has some impact from other sources. We have very good experiences from the Air Convention, as well as from recent diplomatic and efforts from different scientists working on transboundary air pollution. We know that from source awareness that there are many sources that are affecting the air that we breathe in our cities, in our regions. And by identifying those sources, we have to recognize that they are local sources as well as other sources coming to our airshed. The air quality management at airshed level is becoming more important as more scientific data and knowledge is coming to understand that the efforts to clean our air, it's a joint effort from the sources that we can control from our local sources, as well as this cooperation that recognizes that air pollutants travel from far distance, and we have a lot of processes, chemical and physical processes that will result in the pollutants that we can read and measure in our sites. So today we will hear from our speakers, and we invite you from the Southeast Asia Community Practice to become part of this community. This community has the intent of sharing, discussing our knowledge, and identify solutions to different topics, particularly to the transboundary air pollution. We know that there is a lot of information, a lot of data that we have to share, and that's the topic and the objective of today. So I will invite you to be active, as Paulista mentioned. We want to hear from you, from your experiences, and we also want to share or to be the part of this community that could help to share and to exchange data. Finalizing, we are in September. on last September the 7th, we have another celebration of the Clean Air Day for Blue Skies. This session of the community of practice, it's also celebrating that we are first becoming aware of the importance of the clean air that we all deserve. It's a right that we have to breathe clean air, and recognizing that transboundary air pollution is one step. I will also like to invite you to visit and to be aware that there is an important effort in which WRI is also contributing, and we are eager to support the new platform that has been launched last September 7th, is the Air Quality Management Exchange platform. And this, particularly this session that we are having today, will be also contributing to this sharing. So thank you, and looking forward for this exchange of knowledge, ideas, and experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatriz. We'll move on to the next speakers. Okay, so we would like to welcome Kevin Doshel, Coordinator for Air Quality and Hazardous Chemicals at the U.S. Department of State, where he will be introducing about the UN Environment Assembly resolutions and regional collaborations to tackle transboundary pollution. Thank you for making the time, Kevin. Perhaps it's the evening out there where you are, so please. I will stop sharing my screen.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks very much for that introduction. It is a little bit late over here, but it's a pleasure to join everybody, and thanks also to WRI for bringing us all together here. Start by acknowledging that I think we all know the statistics related to air pollution. It's one of the leading causes of premature death worldwide. Every year, it contributes to more than 5 million deaths and hundreds of billions of dollars in lost economic opportunity. It disproportionately affects the most vulnerable communities, and it's getting worse. Air pollution is getting worse in many parts of the world. I think too often, air pollution is seen by policymakers in particular as a problem that's just too huge and too expensive to solve, particularly because it is by its nature transboundary, and it's difficult to pin down precisely who has responsibility for taking care of it when it is a problem that doesn't respect international boundaries. In the United States, we know from our own experience that there are enormous economic benefits to tackling air pollution. And we've seen in our experience that the benefits from resolving the problem of air pollution, or at least lessening the problem of air pollution, significantly outweigh the costs. We look since 1970, when the United States first passed our Clean Air Act, we've been able to reduce emissions of the most dangerous pollutants by up to 78%. And even though there are costs to reducing those emissions, our economy has tripled since then, and the number of private sector jobs has doubled. And also, the benefits of reducing air pollution are not just measured in money, in strict economic benefits. People live longer, they get sick less, kids miss fewer school days, adults miss work less often, people are more productive, quality of life is generally just better for everyone. And that's why the United States is committed to advancing global action to tackle air pollution globally. We're partnering around the world to tackle specifically urban air pollution, areas in areas that are the hardest hit by air pollution. But we're only able to address air pollution if we have effective, data-driven, and collaborative action. So me lay out some steps that we see are necessary to address it. First, we have to quantify the problem. That means generating reliable data and making that data publicly available so that scientists can analyze it and policymakers can make decisions based off of it. From the State Department, we're partnering in Africa and across Asia to build out networks of hundreds of low-cost sensors, air quality monitors that capture data on air pollution. And the data that these networks generate gives us greater insight into the extent of the air pollution problem that faces more than 200 million people across some of the world's most affected cities. This is understanding this problem, generating this data is a first step that will allow those scientists and policymakers to begin designing effective response plans. We've already seen cities like Ouagadougou, countries like Uganda have already adapted new action plans that have been informed by the data that we've collected through these networks. And now those places are on a path to effectively addressing their air quality problems. Second, after we've collected that data, we need to build communities of experts, communities of practice like we have here, who understand and can sustain the data collection to help design and apply effective response plans, and also to educate their local communities. We're working with WRI and also the UNEP with projects that through relatively modest investments help take disjointed networks of air quality experts and practitioners across regions in Southern Africa, in East and West Africa, and in Southeast Asia, and build out thriving communities of practice like hopefully we're building here today, that are actively collaborating across borders, across international borders, to tackle shared air pollution problems. And our goal is that these communities become self-sustaining and create something greater than the sum of their parts. Instead of practitioners working individually, we have now networks of people who can collaborate and come up with and have a sort of a multiplier effect, coming up with international solutions to what is intrinsically an international problem. Third, countries have to work cooperatively to address air pollution, because we know it doesn't respect the international borders. That's why the United States led the charge earlier this year to adopt UNEA Resolution 610, titled Promoting Regional Cooperation on Air Pollution to Improve Air Quality Globally. The resolution that we adopted, it's not some paperwork exercise like I think a lot of people consider when they see UN agreements. What it is the first real global commitment, or the first real global commitment to establish a global cooperation network to tackle air pollution. And we're looking forward to working with UNEP as it develops this cooperation network into a mechanism that will allow regional networks that already exist or that are becoming stronger to cooperate with each other, to share information, increase regional cooperation, and advance air quality management capabilities around the world. Hopefully, through this network, more money and more attention will be devoted to fighting air pollution cooperatively, and we're already seeing partners around the world dedicating tangible resources to that commitment and strengthening that network. The United States is among them. We've, in addition to the air quality projects that we currently fund, we've recently announced that we're committing a further $700,000 to strengthen regional cooperation on air pollution cooperation in Latin America and Central Asia. As you can see right here, we already work in Southeast Asia. And because of the resolution, in addition to this network, for the first time, researchers and practitioners around the world are going to have a one-stop shop online platform. This is the Air Quality Management Exchange, or AQMX, that Beatriz just mentioned. A one-stop shop online platform that will host the world's best information on how to design effective policy responses to air pollution. Having all of that world's best information in one place, I think really will be a game-changing resource for countries and regions to improve their responses to air pollution and to know where to go when they have questions and need ideas on what their next steps are going to be. Again, the United States is committed to supporting this element of the UNEA resolution, and we're contributing content from across the United States federal government to be hosted on AQMX, which is administered by our friends at the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, or CCAC. That said, the success of that platform very much depends not just on contributions from large donors like the United States, but contributions from partner nations and organizations around the world who all have information and who have developed best practices and have new thoughts, new ideas on how best to tackle air pollution. So I want to use this opportunity to call on those of you in, well, I should say, not really in this room, but on this webinar, who have ideas to connect with CCAC and learn how best to contribute to this online platform. It is stronger when it has the best information and the newest, freshest ideas on how best to tackle air pollution. I'm happy to speak more to this. But I really I want to put in a plug that we all need to work together. We need to work smarter so that we can all breathe easier when we have tackled air pollution. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Kevin, for your introduction and basically highlighting again the importance of cross-border collaborations to tackle air pollution. So before we go on to next, and before I pass on the mic to my colleague, just a bit of an introduction to the session, to the main part of the webinar that will be hosted actually, because Danny will be taking the questions and answers. Our senior air quality research lead, Danny Jarum, will be hosting the session, but we will hear presentation first by order from Dr. Didin Permadi from ITENAS, from Dr. Alberto Sulaiman from BRIN Indonesia, the Indonesia Research and Innovation Agency, and from Mr. Jundi Del Socorro, the Chief of Air Quality Management Sections from the Philippines. I think without further ado, I would pass on the session, the hosting of the session to Danny.
Thank you, Paulista. So I'll be moderating today's event. Before we jump into our distinguished speakers, I actually would like to comment on Kevin's intro on UNEA resolution, on regional collaboration to tackle air pollution. I think Kevin made really good points on, we need data, we need reliable data, and then we need to build community on top of that data to utilize those data. And once we have the community, of course, we need to have this collaboration between different countries. Kevin, I think I just have one question for you. The U.S. has this Clean Air Act, has been around since 1970, and as you said, has been very effective in reducing hazardous emission, by up to 79%. And if we look at the Europe, they also have this 1979 Convention on Long-Range Transboundary Air Pollution, which has been quite successful as well. It was signed by over 32 countries across the pan-European region, and they have seen as much as 86% reduction in harmful emissions. So what do you think we could learn based on the challenges that were faced during this convention? What do you think we could learn in order to implement this knowledge that we've gained from this convention on the new UNEA resolution, especially in a global scale?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for that question, Danny. So you're absolutely right that I'm going to call it LRTAP, the Convention on Long Range Transboundary Air Pollution, has been remarkably successful. If you compare, if you look at the data and just see how air pollution in Europe, the European countries who are parties to the convention, dropped off in the decades since signing it, it's really remarkable. I think and if you compare it to those countries, neighboring countries that haven't signed it, or neighboring regions that don't have a similar mechanism, the difference is very stark. So I think the chief lesson here is that it works. That the way to tackle air pollution is to have a robust, binding regional commitment where the big players, the biggest emitters in a region, are bound by similar rules and working towards similar ends, with similar understandings of the problem, to tackle it. And the fact that we see results, I think, demonstrates that regional cooperation on air pollution is sort of the necessary first step to actually resolve the issue. It isn't a theoretical exercise anymore. We have this wonderful laboratory experiment sitting in front of us, and we can show the results of what binding commitments can yield. I think another lesson is that taking a long-term view is quite important. The results the positive results enjoyed by the countries who are parties to LRTAP happened over a very long time, and the design of the agreement had flexibilities, and I think sort of a little bit of humility into it, right? It acknowledged that at any given stage when we're designing response programs or response plans, we don't know all of the science. We don't know what the future science will show us, and so we need to have mechanisms built into our plan that will allow us to adapt to better understandings, and new realizations, so that we can change it and adjust our approach to tackling air pollution, and that we shouldn't expect results overnight. Again, if you look at the data, it is a slow march between the 70s when these agreements were first in place to where we are now, and also it involved getting more parties on board. So taking a long view and not expecting immediate results is, I think, is also important. I think we should also, another lesson, I think, is that comprehensiveness of these response plans should be a goal, but that we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. By that I mean, we have to acknowledge, or we have to recognize that not all countries, not all parties in any particular region are going to be able to, are going to be in the same place, from a policy perspective, to be able to implement any sort of agreement in exactly the same way as every other party. So including flexibilities in especially at initial stages of building out agreements like LRTAP, I think is important. We also have to recognize that there are going to be some parties that just will not join, either because of their inability or because of an unwillingness to join. And the fact that there will be, I think economists call this sort of the free rider problem, right? There's always going to be some parties who will enjoy the benefits of other parties around them. And we can't let that dissuade us from doing the hard work that is necessary to solve the problem. And once, I think LRTAP is an example that once you have sort of a substantial body of actors who are doing this work that actually more countries within the regions will seek to join it right now. Within LURTAP right now, we're looking at how we can bring on board more of the sort of regional non-parties so that it can be a more robust agreement. And the non-parties are interested in joining. It just requires some more, as I said, flexibilities, because not every country is at the same stage in terms of the policy that they're able to implement. So I think those are the three main lessons I would learn. I would also just put in one note of caution in that LURTAP I don't think should be the only model. Not all regions should be aiming to copy and paste LURTAP. It's a very technical, very heavy document that was built out over many decades, and it's not necessarily made to measure for every other region. I think the idea of having regional cooperation and having these sort of binding commitments that every country in a region can attach themselves to is a good thing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be sort of word for word what LURTAP is doing. The benefit comes from cooperation on the issue, not necessarily perfectly reflecting what other regions have done.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. I think you made a really good point that air pollution is not something that we can solve overnight, and we need to have more of a long-term view towards it. And it's especially very important since when you look at policymakers, I wouldn't say all of them, but most of them have this idea of wanting to have this immediate result, which really not something that we could achieve when it comes to solving air pollution problem. And I think we could definitely learn from the US and the Europe on how they've spent decades on solving air pollution. It's not a one night thing, and it's like you said, it's not a theory anymore. It has been proven, right? Over many years, we could see that there's a significant reduction in emissions and also a significant improvement in air quality. And we could definitely learn that, especially in the Southeast Asia region. We could learn about the regional collaboration, how we could improve collaboration between different countries in the Southeast Asia region, and where transboundary pollution is really a big issue here in Southeast Asia. I think, we should definitely learn. Like you said, it's not something that we could just copy and paste, but we should definitely learn in terms of the regional collaboration and how we could, turn into something that's meaningful over the span of many years. So thank you, Kevin. I would like now to move on to our speakers. Let me see if I could share my screen now. Let's see. Okay. So our first speaker is Dr. Didin Parmadi. He is the Associate Professor at the National Institute of Technology, Bandung, or it's also known as ITENA. So Dr. Didin I think it's a very popular figure when it comes to air quality management. So those of you who are in the air quality management or air pollution community should be quite familiar with the work that Dr. Didin has been working on. So his expertise is in 3D chemical transport modeling, emission inventory, and also air pollution monitoring. So I believe today he'll be discussing on how we could leverage, air quality monitoring data, forecasting tools on, tackling the issue with transboundary pollution. So without further ado, I would like to pass this over to Dr. Didin. The floor is yours. I'll stop sharing.
Hi, very good morning to all of us. Danny, thank you very much for moderating this session. I think it was very interesting talk when we try to borrow some keywords from Kevin as well, Beatrice, that the data-driven policies, is getting more important actually to get the right solutions, or perhaps to give directions on how to mitigate the air pollution actually. So today just would like to present a couple of slides just to provide some kind of materials for our discussions, not to give you lecture actually, like I gave in the class, but however, we also would like to seek for your attentions on the problem of biomass open burning actually. So I'll just try to share my screen. So as we know that the annually reoccurring biomass open burning, we have seen as a serious problem in Southeast Asia, especially in Indonesia actually. So once we realize the problems, then we need more attentions on the availability of the ground-based monitoring stations, because we also need to know about the levels, yeah, of air pollutions when the forest fires events occurred actually. So as we know, there are several stations, continuous ambient air quality monitoring stations managed by our Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and they are normally located in the city. So how about the people who live in the remote areas? So perhaps they could not get the level of the air pollution during the forest fire events, for example. So in this case, the satellite derived products may also provide useful informations, as they may have the good spatial coverage of the information. So we can see also from preliminary research that we have been doing right now with the Ministry of Education and Culture. We have seen the good correlations between the satellite-derived aerosol optical depth, which shows the turbidity of the atmosphere actually because of aerosols, with the ground-based monitoring of PM 2.5 as an example. So perhaps we can view that in the near future, yeah, we can also build some kind of fusions, yeah, between ground-based monitoring data with the satellite products, yeah, to provide better spatial coverage of monitoring the levels of air quality due to the forest fire events. So as we know that we have a lack of availability in terms of spatial distributions of information of air quality, and then the modeling can be also one of the solutions, yeah, to provide or maybe to fill in the gaps in terms of spatial distributions of air quality informations. But however, we realize that it is very tedious actually to conduct the whole works, uh, starting from the collecting the emission data. Sometimes we don't have good emission inventory data. So then we need to take a look from the available online data sources of the emissions. So we also need to have the good modeling of the meteorology. So as we know that in Indonesia is currently affected by, let's say, certain of meteorological conditions, and it should be also well simulated, yeah, using the meteorological mesoscale models. So we can use various types of chemical transport models to simulate the air quality contributed from different sources. And with the current technology, we can also do some kind of source apportionment. So we can know the contributions of the different sources at one particular locations. So this kind of tool is also very much developed in the Western countries. Somehow when we would like to adopt in Southeast Asian region, for example, yeah, we need to really see the performance comparing with the available ground monitoring data. So there are also some available existing global to regional emission database. It's worth noted from EDGAR version 4.3.2 with the resolution of 10 by 10 kilometer squares, and they provide also the let's say, multi-years emission estimations of air pollutants. So as we see also from the available database, it can be sector-wise emission data, and also can be provided in very good spatial distributions. We have seen the growing attentions on black carbon and organic carbon, for example. As Kevin mentioned about climate and clean air coalitions. So also the IPCC, they provide the specific chapters in the sixth assessment report related to short-lived climate forces. So some of them are included also as the air pollutant. So we can see the potential co-benefits between air pollution as well as the climate change forces. So there are also some available database provided. So for countries or maybe cities who have not developed their own emission inventories can also see the online database to see the relative strength or maybe the burden of the emissions in their own areas. So for the transboundary air pollution, yeah, this is one of the example of our previous works on building the emission inventory database of a crop residue open burning in Southeast Asia. As we know that many countries are agricultural based countries. Yeah, so we can still see some practices once they finish harvesting, for example. Uh, uh, the remaining residue will be burned openly. So we try to collect the informations of uh, the crop statistics as well as the satellite products of MODIS MCD 45A1. Yeah, so then we try to estimate the emissions of crop residue open burning in different countries, as you can see in the figure below. So, for example, for 2010, we try to compare the emissions of crop residue open burning from all countries with the available global fire emission data set for only forest fires. And then we can see for some pollutants, actually, the contributions of crop residue open burning is almost comparable. So I think we cannot underestimate the emissions from this kind of practices. So when we come to forecasting, so there are several existing methodologies to conduct the forecast. So either we can use the chemical transport models. Also, we can use another technique looking at the synoptic meteorological pattern, for example. It has been widely done in the northern part of Thailand, for example, in Chiang Mai. So just to show the comparison between the non-haze period in May 4, 2012 with September 15, 2011, where we have normally the forest fire events during that month. So we can see the difference between levels of PM 2.5. We can see also the impact or dispersions of hotspots of fire events in Riau province and also in the western part of Kalimantan Island. And by taking into account the meteorological conditions, we can see the patterns of dispersions of forest fire emissions, and also like we realized that the haze is not only the problem in remote areas, but in the large cities we consider also there are some problems related to photochemical smoke haze. So once we have this kind of systems, we also need to evaluate the performance of the modeling efforts. And when we would like to forecast, we should have the let's say the forecasting mode of initial and boundary conditions for meteorological modeling, and at the same time, the big gaps actually to provide the real-time emission inventory. So I think nowadays, yeah, for biomass open burning satellite products from geostationary satellite like Himawari perhaps can provide a very good data, yeah, to have the real-time emissions of biomass open burning. So I think that's all my presentations. Yeah, just to initiate our discussion, I return back the time to Danny. Yeah, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Didin. That was a very insightful presentation. Um, Before I go into my question, I would like to just remind the participants that you can drop your questions on the chat box, and you know, feel free to just unmute yourself if you feel like you want to just ask away. That's totally fine. If you drop your question on the chat box, then I'll be the one that read out your question. Okay, before we jump into the participant question, Dr. Didin, I just have one question. I find that the emission inventory reporting for crop is it's something that's very interesting, but maybe given the challenges, of data collection, especially across this diverse region, if we're talking about Southeast Asia, and oftentimes we have to deal with remote regions as well, right? So how can we ensure the accuracy, and like as you mentioned, there are sometimes still underestimated, right? So how can we ensure the accuracy of this emission inventory reporting for crop, and how can we standardize the reporting between different regions?
Mhm.
We have this very diverse data.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Danny. So I think the first thing we need to see also the methodologies on how to estimate, yeah, the emission from crop residue open burning. At least there are two kind of alternatives. Yeah, the first one actually using the crop statistics that is mainly well reported by the department or the Ministry of Agriculture, for example. And at the same time, also we need to have the ground-based survey. Yeah, like let's say what will be the crop to product ratio, and then what will be the fractions of rice straw burn uh, openly in the field, for example. Yeah, we need the ground-based survey data. And the second alternative, actually, we can use the hotspots or maybe the burn scars products, yeah, from the satellite. But however, as we know that, let's say for MODIS satellite, it passes our region two times around 10 a.m. and then 1:30 p.m. Right? Yeah. So the fact is for crop residue upon burning, maybe farmers they intend, yeah, to burn it in the afternoon, right? So yeah, this, and also it will not last long actually as compared to the forest fire events. Yeah, so sometimes we miss the burn areas, yeah, because of the time of conducting this kind of practices. And in some countries where they have the regulations to catch, yeah, the person who conduct the biomass open burning or crop residue open burning, then they may even do it in the nighttime, right? Yeah, so the police will not catch them. Yeah, so by combining these two methodologies, I think we hope, yeah, to get less uncertainty, right, in the emission estimates, and some ground checking data on the events of crop residue open burning can be done, yeah, to ensure the validity or maybe the a level of uncertainty of the emission estimates. Yeah, yeah. Of course, we still need some ground base. Is not sometimes when we do the emission inventory, we cannot come up with the perfect one, but of course it can be better in the near future.
Thank you, Dr. Didin. And I agree, people could get very smart, with the timing on when they burn this, and without
Yeah.
getting caught by the authorities, they could get very
Yeah.
smart about this thing. And I agree. Yeah, we definitely use satellite data and also in combination with ground survey. But do you think are there some existing data that's already available, maybe from the government or third parties that we could utilize, for this emission inventory?
Yes, of course, the let's say the activity data for the crop residue open burning, the Ministry of Agricultures, they reported the let's say the crop productions, and also in some countries they also have the a kind of report of uh, someone that they try to report this kind of practices, the open burning practices to the local authority. Uh, but I think one of another important data to be gathered is the emission factors. So because there are very limited measurements of the emission factors. So let's say farmers normally they have done slash and burn practices. They may collect the rice straw and then put it. If you have done the traditional cutting way, right, and then you collect your rice straw and then burn in the corner of your paddy field, and at the same time also maybe you use the uh, mechanical ways, for your harvesting, and then you can burn the spread rice straw. So we also try to simulate those situation and measure the emission factors, to get better estimate of the emissions.
Yeah, I think emission factors is also one of the most challenging thing here in Indonesia, or I think even in Southeast Asia
Yeah.
region. It's very hard to get a very up to date, emission factors, comprehensive emission factors, I would say.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna read out a few questions from the participants here. So, Kapol, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Ask, how about GEMS data from Korea? Have you done any analysis on that?
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. We have not actually. Sorry. Yeah. We have not get the data. Yeah. For GEMS. But however, previously there are some equipments circulated among of the Southeast Asian countries named as Pandora. Yeah, so this kind of equipments were installed in different spots, of the countries, and the main intention is actually to validate or to evaluate the results of GEMS products, right? But however, this is a very good uh, options actually to get the data. And of course, the geostationary satellite products will be very useful for us, because sometimes it can resolve the problem of the spatial, sorry, the temporal distributions. Yeah. But thank you for your comments.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Didin. So I'll just read out another comment from Kalisa. Uh, she says that given that efforts to address forest fire typically involve monitoring and identifying hotspots, how can this hotspot data be effectively integrated into air quality monitoring, especially to improve forecasting and mitigation strategies?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think it was mentioned in the beginning that kind of interactive platform or online web-based platform for monitoring these hotspots is also very important. So one may try to compile the hotspot data over the period of time, and at the same time, perhaps I think in some countries they have the ground check, right, of the uh, fire hotspots, and we can also combine these two data sets, to see or maybe to clarify whether the hotspot is truly represents the ground-based burning. So yeah, I think there are several data can be collated, and then we can put in the website. So I think as ASMC, they belong to the ASEAN Center. I think they provide very good information on this kind of matter.
Thank you, Dr. Didin. I think as we have very limited time, I'll probably just read out just one last question for Dr. Didin here.
Yeah.
So Abinaya Sekar, she asks, can you please share any success stories from the Haze mitigation efforts in the region?
Mhm.
And maybe I would like to add a little things here, maybe in research perspective, especially how the research data has been used for, policies or regulation and how it can be used to mitigate the haze issue in Southeast Asia.
Yes, I think I just would like to give the perspective of Indonesian context. So let's say once we have the big event in 2018, that we have the Asian Games hosted by Jakarta and Palembang. Let's say we also seen the very hard works of the government on how to control actually the hotspots over the uh, area. And of course, we also know that in Delhi, for example, during the Commonwealth Games, they have done very wonderful work, to control the emission sources. So, but in terms of research, we also see some amazing works from Indonesian National Research Agency and Innovation, like from BRIN. Also, they conducted measurements, source apportionment. Yeah, so just also to give the highlights to the public on the importance of the bad impacts of this kind of seasonally events. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Didin. I think, that's. Thank you for your insights and also answering the questions that we have. And as you mentioned, BRIN has put a lot of effort into fighting this transboundary haze issue as well in Indonesia. And our next speaker is actually from BRIN. So I'll take the opportunity to introduce our next speaker, but let me just see if I could share my screen a little here. Right, so our next speaker is Dr. Alberto Sulaiman from the National Research and Innovation Agency, or BRIN Indonesia. So he is currently the head of climate and atmospheric research at BRIN, and he has a vast amount of experience when it comes to fighting transboundary pollution, working with Malaysia, working with Brunei on tackling this transboundary haze issue. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Alberto Sulaiman to the stage and share his insight on how Indonesia, for the past, I believe, 9-10 years, has successfully reduced the rate of forest fire.
Okay, thank you very much, Nani. Let me share my screen. Okay, it's perfect. Okay, thank you for your invitation to discuss and share experience related to the air pollution toward to a better environment. Yeah, right. Blue sky is not a gray sky. Okay, my name is Albert Sulaiman from Research Center for Climate and Atmosphere BRIN. Okay. Okay. Yes, this is next slide. You can see. Okay. In 2015, we got what is called the Super El Nino. That there is a very huge spitfire and very huge smoke haze dispersed very widely and lasting in several months. Climate prediction for various countries show that dry spell will increase in the future, and we still do not know when the Super El Nino come in, but so that we need to aware about that. But okay, after Super El Nino, we have no too much fire because Indonesian maritime continent climate is more wet and we have so many rain. But although we have no fire, we should aware because okay, in October In Palembang also occur fire, although it's not very huge, but we can learn from this what I say, the fire, especially the fire occur in the peatland area. The fire is began with the decrease of groundwater level. After the groundwater level reach the critical groundwater level, when the groundwater level in the critical level, if you put water into the surface of peatland, the water cannot penetrate into the peatland. So in Indonesia we call seperti menaruh air di daun talas. Yes, please take in English. So after the groundwater level reach the critical level, so several weeks there is fire. So after that, the fire is far from Palembang city, but if we measure the haze, usually the haze occur in the midnight after 8 o'clock and then decrease in the morning or until evening. So if there is smoke fire, please stay at home in the night. Similar to Roma Irama songs, Begadang Jangan Begadang is cute suggestion. Okay, so because the cause of pit fire come from the decreasing of groundwater level, so we need to real-time monitoring of groundwater level. You see, so we collaborate with BRIN, JICA, and KLHK. We make some monitoring of groundwater level. We use many data from VRF, SMAP satellite, groundwater level instrument, and also we will install the EDICO variant. If we can measure the groundwater level, we can also estimate the carbon emission due to pit decomposition. And then the mitigation emission from pit fire and forest fire should be used community participant, because KLHK said that maybe 80% forest fire come from human cause. So the community participant is very important. This is example of the information system based on community. We call Simo Cakap. In this platform can be installed in your smartphone. In this platform, we consist many information, and also community can contribute to the information in the system. Yeah, but in this Simo Cakap only limited in small area, in Bengkalis area. And then maybe we can learn. Nafas.com. Yeah, this is the platform is community participant. People can get instrument from Nafas and install in their home and give the data from this platform. But KLHK also also have the platform. For me, it's very excellent, very beautiful platform. Can observe can give the information about air quality in Indonesia. They use a standard instrument for air quality monitoring. Okay, as mentioned Pak Didin, we have success story at SEAGAME Indonesia. The government and community work together to participate to prevent the pit fire. Yeah, I also in this event I also join some WhatsApp every day. In the WhatsApp describe where is the pit, where is fire and how to get out the fire. So it's very attractive WhatsApp in this time. Okay, maybe because the smoke transboundary is dealing with cross-border, maybe neutral institution can be participate to make some platform. For example, World Research Institute, Haze Transboundary Monitoring System, we got Wulandari, just name. In this system, you can use many satellite image and also BRF. Yeah, many institutions can contribute to BRF to give some smoke haze monitoring, smoke haze prediction, and maybe you can collaborate with perusahaan alat to to install the local sensor that can install in the resident home, and also this platform can participate. For example, as a community person seen the fire, take a picture and give the location to the platform, and also educate the people to put the fire prone in where is the fire prone area to make some warning. Usually we call FDRS, fire danger rating system. So I hope you can feel it. Okay, the last is first we use working with nature. The nature of pitland is water. If we put water in the pitland, nature will find a way. So we work together and we happy together with our nature. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Albert. Very great presentation. And thank you for citing Wulandari platform. So I have a few questions, but I guess I will start with the chart on the I believe it was on the burn area per hectare. So it was very interesting because initially it was increasing from 2012 to 2015. I don't
Yeah.
know if you could share that particular slide so that the other participant could see as well. But it was increasing to 2015, and then from 2015 onwards, it was decreasing rapidly.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is like, what was the strategies for Indonesia to achieve that, especially from 2015 to today? We see a significant reduction in the area of the burn area.
Okay, the first is about the nature. The nature is no super El Nino. So Indonesian maritime continent is more wet. Atau. And the second is, I think, is apa peran the government. The government built what is called Badan Restorasi Gambut. They put and they try to give the water into the burn area, especially for pit area that has been burned into 2015, and the Badan Restorasi Gambut try to restore this area, and also is make the awareness of the community. So is this more little bit the contribute to the stress do not fire do not occur. I think this is uh, the answer, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Albert. And I think one thing that's very interesting when we talk about forest fire, the first thing that came to our mind is, oh, this is big corporation, right? We start pointing fingers, big corporation. And of course, when it comes to the context of Indonesia, it's the palm oil industry, right? They have been
Yeah.
expanding rapidly, clearing out lands for plantation. But when we look at the data, I think as Dr. Didin mentioned as well, the local farmers, small scale farmers, they practice slash and burn as well, right? In fact, for some of them, it has been part of their culture to do these practices. So I guess my question is like, how can the Indonesian government adapt their policies, such as the zero burning policy, to account for this local farmers, these small scale farmers that frankly might not even have the resources or knowledge to go for the alternative approach, right? So how can we balance out the act of environmental protection, but at the same time we want to support this local livelihood? If that makes sense.
Okay, this is difficult question, but if in my experience, if I go to the Kalimantan or Sumatra, local people, they have what is called a kearifan lokal. They burn if they want to make some agriculture area. they burn is a small area, but the burn area is not dispersed, only located in the small area. So maybe the kearifan lokal of the people can be adopted for policy how to prevent our peatland to very big pit fire. So yeah, I think this is my answer. It's difficult, so sorry.
Thank you.
Maybe
Thank you.
KLHK can give more good answer.
Thank you, Dr. Abel. Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
challenging. I think it's a challenging thing for us to balance this effort of environmental protection. At the same time, I want to support this local community. Okay, I will read some questions from the participants here. Evelyn Tamayo asked, may we know what's the status of development of standard protocols to calibrate low-cost sensors in Indonesia, if any? Okay, I think this is a good question because I believe just now you mentioned that NAFAS has a series of low-cost sensors that are contributing to monitoring in Indonesia. So is there a standard on how they should calibrate these low-cost sensors?
Yes. For in Indonesia, the standard air quality sensor figure produced by KLHK. So if we need, if I have some local sensor, and we should compare with KLHK instrument to make sure that our local sensor is in a standard form. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Albertus. Maybe just one last question from me.
Okay.
So, you mentioned about the community involvement. So there is an app. I forgot what it's called. Let me see. Let me look at my notes here. Simo Cakap. So there's an app called Simo
Oh,
Cakap where the
yeah.
community could actively contribute and identify forest fire. So I believe it was only for a specific area, right, Dr.
Yes,
Albertus?
in Bangladesh area. Yeah.
Bangladesh. So how has it been? How has the progress been using the Simo Cakap app? Can it be applied to other regions? Has it been, have we seen any success story with this community based app?
Okay. So far, Simo Cakap has been used for many people in Bengkalis, but until now, our climate is very wet, so there is no fire. So so far, everything is okay. They do not. We don't need too much upon this platform because we have many rain. Yeah.
Okay,
I think
thank you.
I think it's possible if we can make the some platform is to another area. But I think because Haze boundary is involves many area, I think work together. My experience, we also work with the University of Putra Malaysia, University of Technology Brunei to make together upon the instrument and develop the EOT system. So it's worked well. So based on this experience, we can also develop together upon the first case is a monitoring system. After we can monitor our the monitor in the area is very prone to fire, we can get mencegah fire occur for become the very large area. If the fire is located in a small area, is okay. But if the fire occur in very large area, especially in the peatland area, we can do anything. Although we use, but I say, hujan buatan is nothing. We just wait very huge rain to get out the fire. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Albert. All right, so I think we've got a very great insight from your presentation, and thank you for answering our questions as well. It was a really great insight from you, Dr. Albertus. Thank you. I'm going to move on to our next speakers now. Let me just quickly share my screen. Our next speaker is Jundi Del Socorro, and he will be our last speaker for today as well. He's the Chief of Air Quality Management Section in the Environmental Management Bureau of Philippines. He has, I think, vast amount of experience when it comes to monitoring, sampling, emission inventories, air quality modeling. So I would like to invite Jundi to speak about Philippines' experience on, tackling transboundary pollution, but also, tackling air quality problem as a whole in the Philippines. So, yeah, the floor is yours, Jundi.
Hello, good morning. So I'm going to share my presentation. Can you see my presentation already?
Yes,
Yes.
your presentation.
Store. Okay, for a while. Okay. Okay, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
loud and clear, Jundi, loud and clear.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Jundi.
Oh my. Hello? Can you hear me right now?
Yes, we can hear you, Jundi.
Okay, can you hear me? I'm sorry for the technical problem.
Yes, we can hear you, Jundi.
Okay, so I'm going to start my presentation on the Philippines situation. So right now, there are about 150 air quality monitoring stations in the Philippines. Both the manual methods and those that utilize continuous ambient air quality monitoring from particulate matter, PM10 2.5, also some um, open pot station that measures gaseous pollutants such as carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, fine particles, PM10 and PM2.5. These are the ground-based instruments that we are using right now to monitor ground level air pollutants nationwide in the entire country. So also in the cases of transboundary haze or some air quality issues, we based our reporting on air quality index using data from these monitoring stations. So although Philippines also experience transboundary haze from other countries, we have also local open burning issues that we address. So here are some strategies that we used to address those problem in managing land use, reduce deforestation, and control of open burning. So one is the integrated land use planning of the Philippines. It's been working on sustainable land use policies through zoning laws and integrated watershed management. Also, forest land use plans. also through my office, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. There are also reducing deforestation, like the National Greening Program of the Philippines, which we intend to have ambitiously 100 1.5 million hectares of reforestation. Also, some community-based forest management initiatives. Also, in controlling the open burning, there are also laws like the Philippine Clean Air Act and the Solid Waste Management Act to prohibit open burning of agricultural and solid waste. Also, fire management programs from the Department of Environment and local governments. Also, mitigating air pollution and haze. We join ASEAN cooperations, and also we share experiences from our regional partners. With regards to the current haze situation in the Philippines, this year we didn't experience significant transboundary haze pollution, and the ASEAN Specialized Meteorological Center platform has really helped us in monitoring, especially the fire intensity on the South ASEAN regions. We are transboundary haze in the Philippines are mainly also dependent on the wind direction. So we monitor here, like on the first quarter, the northeast monsoon. So the wind is blowing towards the southwest direction. But the next months, April to June, it shifted from northwards, and some easterlies, and the June is turned into the southwest monsoon. And below in my presentation are the localized air quality index, air quality monitoring for PM 2.5 on the national level. And you can see there are some exceedances in terms of PM 2.5 in some urban areas in the initial months of January and February, but in the consequent months, there are some compliance. But this is just the latest update of the ASMC up to June only. In the typical Metro Manila air quality, this is you can see that I'd like to share this one, that this is the typical urban area air quality we're in. This is shot in the morning. This is Metro Manila. You can see the mixing height of the pollutants during early morning from some effects of heat island from hot concrete, and when the pollutants are parcel of airs are cooling down, and also depending on the surfaces in different parts of Manila, there are some issues of thermal inversion. And also, if the ventilation is very poor, like if you can see the plume at the upper portion, I think you can say that there is a very weak ventilation. And as the sun comes up, some chemical reaction, photochemical reaction from the sun, forming secondary aerosols from reaction of VOC. So everything that's happening in a typical Metro Manila, that's translate into our daily ground-based monitoring. So, but in the August and September, we experienced some visibility problems or hazy problems, and we again checked the ASMC haze situation. Although it's cloudy, it's not technically related from transboundary haze. But the recent exceedances that we experienced from PM10 to 2.5 may be attributed to the local contributions from the transport sector, some evidences of low ventilation and thermal inversions also. And also during this month, it's the same. During these days, it's the same. From I think it's January 19 to 20. Like there are also same situations wherein we experience some volcanic plumes from our nearest volcano in Metro Manila. Also, I'd like to share that there was a NASA mission in the Philippines wherein there's a lot of equipment and a lot of airplanes, I mean, 2 units of airplanes that monitors not just the ground base, but the entire vertical profile of Metro Manila. And you can see the flight path of a G3 aircraft, wherein you can saw aerosol optical depths, and this complements both from upper air monitoring from using a G3 aircraft and also the installation of ground-based sun photometers like the Aeronet and the Pandora, which complement or supplements the ground-based monitoring, especially if the density of aerosols measured by measured in terms of the aerosol optical depth. On your left also, it's also complemented by a GEM satellite, also part of the PAPGAPI network. In August 19 to 24, we experienced also some visibility problems, and our immediate actions on this one. So we have confirmed that it's not really actually coming from Transboundary Haze, but these are localized contributions from transport sector, and may have also contributed. I mean, the volcanic plumes also contributed. So our actions of the government is to provide the public daily bulletins. You can see it's available in our website and social media platforms. So, and one of the actions is also like suspensions of classes, especially the students. So they and also the entire public. So they will be they were immediately informed of the situation. Okay, ways and also recommendations also. So I think strengthening the regional framework, especially the SMC, is um, very helpful to us, enhancing diplomatic engagement. We have different international partnership, both not just from transboundary, but all air quality monitoring, like the ISAS Drain Monitoring Network, the APMMN, now the PAPGAPI, all of those equipment that we received in terms of strengthening air quality monitoring. Yeah, not to mention also the equipments like Aeronet and the Pandora. Also, technology transfer and capacity building. Recently, there were a lot of trainings provided by those different international networks, like from the UN SCAP, the UN CASA, like the near of South Korea, like the technology transfer in interpreting and processing GEMS satellite data. Especially that the GEMS domain covers the Philippines and the Southeast Asia. Also translating it to public awareness and international advocacy. And in general is the collaborative research and development. So that ends my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Junzi, for a very great presentation. I just have a couple of questions before we jump into the participants. And I would like to remind the participants to also, drop your question in the chat box. If you have for the speakers, we have about 10 minutes left. I'll try to, share your questions with the speaker. So I have one question, Junzi, regarding the anti-burning legislation policy in the Philippines. I think, as Dr. Didn't mention, this is still quite a common practice when after harvesting, the remaining residues are normally burned. So how effective is this anti-burning legislation, and are there any challenges in implementing this policy in the Philippines, especially when we account the local farmers, the small scale farmers?
It's quite a challenge in addressing the especially small scale burning legislation, because it's delegated to our local government units. But in the recent years, there are a lot of ordinances, or these are local policies that are implemented by our local government units. This is, of course, because of the national policy on the halt on the open burning. But just like any policies, some local governments has challenges on stronger implementations, especially that you will be dealing with the farmers or small scale operations. That's why it's very important that we address it into, like we strengthen the information and educational campaign, especially during meetings. Like, by the way, the Philippines has this airshed management policy, wherein all of the sectors from local government units are involved in the governing board, and they conduct regular dialogues and consultation. And it's very important that the information and education campaign to these sectors are disseminated, so they would be well aware of these policies that are existing. Thank you.
Thank you, Junde. That's really great insights into how the Philippines government deal with this small-scale burning. I'll read a couple of questions from the participants now. I think we have one question from Kalisa. How can the effectiveness of the NGP in reducing deforestation be evaluated, and what measure can be considered to ensure that reforestation efforts are sustainable and support biodiversity? And there's a second question from Kalisa as well. Are there specific methods available to monitor the reforestation efforts?
Well, the National Greening Project in the Philippines has been very challenging. And I think one of the ways to address an effective NGP program is to learn from the past mistakes. Like in the ambitious target of the NGP, like reforesting or planning 1.5 million hectares, only around 20% were accomplished, mainly because of some planning issues, and also the low seeding survival rates. So it's very important that we understand the areas and the planning, because this is one of the lessons we learned. Not all the areas, and based on the geography and meteorology, in not all areas, all of these species that we used in the NGP will survive. So these are some of the lessons that we have to learn in effectively implementing the NGP. And although there are some setbacks in the NGP problem, our government still continues to fund and implement this NGP with a vision, a very ambitious vision, to increase its reforestation program.
Thank you, Junti. Yes, it is very important to ensure that the seedlings, the species are compatible with the regions in order to maximize the survival rate. I agree with you on that. Maybe I will just ask one last question from Abinaya Sekar. Can you please share more about airshed management policy in the Philippines? Is it a national policy?
Yeah, it's a national policy. It's reference also from CFR, or Code of Federal Regulation of the United States, wherein if an airshed is designated based on the study of specific areas based on their sources of air pollution and how the pollutants interacts and is affected by topography and meteorology, then that will be designated. And the main intention of a designated airshed is to identify non-attainment areas. So non-attainment areas meaning these areas are not complying with the air quality guideline values. By the way, airshed is based on a very basic principle that it's the smaller areas, the easier to manage. Like if you observe, you check the Philippine geography, like we have more than 7,000. We are an island nation, more than 7,000 islands and different municipalities, provinces, and cities. So this is one of the strategy that the smaller areas are easier to manage. And once these airshed are designated, we have conduct some scientific assessment in identifying non-attainment areas. And in these non-attainment areas, based on the emission inventory, like identifying the sources of pollutants and dispersion modeling, identifying the hotspot areas in a specific airshed. Once the non-attainment is designated, then there will be a compliance plan on how to address the specific problem of that airshed, like if it's coming from stationary sources, or if there's an industry within that airshed, or if there are problems in open burning, or there are problems in transport sector, then through that compliance plan, they will plan for the redesignation of the airshed from non-attainment to attainment area. And for areas that are still pristine, the main objective is to maintain the designation as in the attainment levels. So basically, that's the airshed management in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you, Jundi. Thank you very much for your presentation and also answering our questions. And you really give us a great insight on how the Philippines combat air pollution. So I would like to thank all the speakers for contributing today and spending the time to share your experience with combating transboundary pollution. So before we end this, I would like to pass it over to Baita for some closing statement. And before that, I'd like to also thank all the participants for joining this webinar today. So Baita, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Danny. I think I would like just to end and conclude this third sessions of our Southeast Asia Air Quality Community of Practice webinar by inviting all of you, even your colleagues, your networks, those of you who haven't, you have shown support by attending this rich and insightful discussion today, but we would do more of this in the next coming weeks, months. We would love to stay in touch as well through digital communication. So we have newsletter where you can actively contribute as well. So be a part of the Southeast Asia Air Quality Community of Practice, and please fill up the new membership form if you haven't, and do share, spread the good words, and we'll stay connected among this specialized community for a better, a cleaner air quality in our cities. Thank you. And again, I would like to just extend our biggest gratitude. Thank you to Beatrice, to Kevin, despite the time differences, to everyone from all over the world and region who have stayed with us all throughout. Do keep in touch, and thank you for now. We'll end this conversation and session for now.